If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? This is George with Fighters Rep. If you like to talk about combat sports, you're in the right place. This is our Donald Cerrone versus Justin Gaethje Reaction Discussion live. It just went down in Vancouver, Canada. We had Donald Cowboy Cerrone in the main event, much anticipated, versus Justin the Highlight Gaethje. And what can I say other than I was absolutely incorrect in predicting this fight. Lightning strikes once in a while, and I was wrong this time. Just kidding. But just a really, really solid performance by Justin Gaethje to win this fight. And he's really impressed me with his ability to change his fighting style, you know, basically in his 30s. He is 30 years old, so he's still fresh, and he's still not technically in his prime relative to, you know, other fighters. I mean, typically, I think fighters hit their prime in their mid to early 30s. Gaethje is just 30. And I'm impressed by the way he changed his style. Now, we'll get into that in a little bit, but let's talk about the fight. The fight went down. It ended in just 4 minutes and 18 seconds into round number one. It was a good fight while it lasted. It looked like Donald Cerrone, who, like I said in the prediction, starts out slow, did start out kind of slow. But Justin Gaethje also started out a bit methodical. He was not attacking the way he typically does. He was going after the leg kicks a bit, like he usually does, which I thought was intelligent. And, you know, he was moving a lot more than I'm used to seeing him move. You know, typically, if you remember him in the Michael Johnson fight or any of the other fights that he usually has, he just comes forward, smashes people's legs, and throws haymakers. And that's not really what happened today. You know, what happened today was he was moving around. He was aware. He was conscious of what he was doing. He fought a smart fight. Cowboy Cerrone was trying to jab. Cowboy Cerrone was throwing straight strikes down the middle, trying to use his reach, which I thought was a good idea. In fact, in my prediction preview, I said for Cerrone to win this fight, he's got to stay long. He's got to use his legs. He's got to use his reach. And for the most part, he was doing that. But Gaethje did a wonderful job in negating the straight punches by coming inside and throwing looping punches and countering with looping punches. And Cerrone's hands just weren't coming back fast enough or weren't guarding where they needed to guard. And a lot of those looping punches were landing. And that's basically how the fight ended. It ended with a big, what looked to be a counter right hook to Cerrone's temple that kind of spelled the beginning of the end, dropped him to his knees, and then continued to attack. He looked like when the fight was stopped, or just before the fight was stopped, he didn't want to continue to hit Cerrone because they're friends and he's got respect for him. So he was trying not to tee off on him, but the referee just wasn't jumping in. Gaethje continued to land a couple more blows. The referee finally jumped in, and then Gaethje started pointing his finger and yelling. At first, I thought it was because of Cerrone. Maybe Cerrone had told him something that he didn't like, and he was just talking smack back to Cerrone. But in fact, what happened was he was upset at the referee for taking so long not to jump in and stop the fight. And that's kind of what happened. Justin Gaethje started pointing at the referee and yelling a little bit, but, you know, nothing too crazy happened beyond that. Another thing that I noticed again was Justin Gaethje, man, he was so patient in this fight. It was like a different fighter, you know, whatever they've done for him in coaching him, man, it's worked wonders for him. Now, at the beginning, when I saw him fighting that way, I said to myself, whoa, this is not good against Cowboy Cerrone, because I agreed with the commentary saying that Cowboy does worse in a train wreck. If you're going to fight him at a pace, it's better for him, especially if it's at his pace, which is what I felt like Justin Gaethje was doing. I felt like he was moving around a lot, and the pace was safer for Cowboy Cerrone, as opposed to Gaethje, how he typically fights, where he just goes in there and just throws caution to the wind. I actually thought that would be effective, or more effective, for Cerrone, but kudos to Justin Gaethje. He stuck to this new fighting style. He got caught a couple times, or hit with a couple shots, and didn't kind of revert into his instinctual, crazy come forward style. He stayed patient. He stayed moving. He did a lot of lateral movement, which I was impressed with, because, I mean, let's face it, he's not originally a striker. He's a wrestler who just hits really hard and has worked tremendously on his striking. So, he was able to move around laterally a lot, land leg kicks strategically a lot, throw a lot of looping combinations over and around Cowboy's guard, and straight punches, which, because he was at a reach disadvantage, it seemed to be working for him. He would sort of smother Cowboy's work, come in close enough to where Cowboy couldn't, really work the reach advantage, but he could still catch Cowboy with those hooks. And that's what ended the fight and won the fight for Justin Gaethje. Man, great performance for Justin Gaethje. I really thought that Cowboy Cerrone was going to win this fight, and now I got to eat crow. But you can't be right every time. So that's that. After the fight, Justin Gaethje is calling to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. Is he ready for that? Well, he's got as good of a case as just about anyone that's not named Tony Ferguson at this point. Obviously, we want to see Tony Ferguson in there against Khabib, but if we can't get Tony Ferguson, if the Ferguson-Khabib curse lives on and cancels a what has to be a record 5th attempt for them to fight, then Gaethje's the guy. Gaethje's a good guy, man. If his wrestling is still good enough to keep it on the feet and fight Khabib toe-to-toe with his tenacity, man, that could be a really fun fight, That could be a really fun fight. That would basically be a battle of the wills. So, definitely something to look forward to in the future. Let's see what happens. And that's pretty much all I have on this fight. I'm going to turn it over to you guys. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave it in the chat. You can leave it in the comments below. Please like, share, and comment. Do all the nice things that the people on YouTube do. Also, be sure, if you're anywhere near Southern California, to get your tickets to Fighters Rep 8 at fightersrep.com. It's going down. We've got over 15 fights on the card. It's all stand and bang, striking action. Absolutely no grappling. If they clinch, they get broken up. I believe this is the future of combat sports. I believe this is exciting for hardcore and casual fans alike. We've got a bunch of young, amazingly talented kids on the card from some of the best teams in the world. It's a team versus team event, and the winning team is going to take home the Lions Cup. So definitely check it out. If you're anywhere near Southern California, get your tickets at fightersrep.com. It's going down next Saturday, September 21st in Seal Beach, California. Also, if you can't make it, if you're outside the state or the city or the country and you just can't make it, you want to tune in and watch some free fights, we're going to be live streaming right here on YouTube for free, and it's going to be absolutely sick. So definitely check it out, you guys. Right now, I'm just going to briefly turn it over to the chat and then, see what everybody has to say. We don't have too many people in the chat room today, but see what everybody has to say. And then we're going to talk to you guys and then sign off. So let's see what's going on in the chat here. Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, we've got Marco Martinez in the chat. My brother, thank you so much for joining. And Marco has a pretty simple statement. What a fight. It was a great fight. Unfortunately, it didn't last as long as I would have wanted it to last. But, yeah, man, it was a good fight. I actually thought, and tell me what you think about this, Marco. I actually thought that Justin Gaethje's new style of moving around and not engaging as much and being patient and smart, I actually thought that that was going to work against him, that that was going to be in Cowboy Cerrone's favor. I actually thought if this fight continued, as it continued, it became more favorable for Cowboy Cerrone. But luckily for Gaethje, he was able to get him out of there. So, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I really thought that kind of attacking Cowboy in the beginning when he starts off slow, which he's known for doing, would have been the best strategy. But, regardless, Gaethje got him out of there. So, good for him. Raul Castillo is in the chat. What's up, my brother Raul? Thank you so much for joining the chat, my man. He's saying, good fighters, a lot of respect. Heck yeah, man. Those two are great. The only thing that saddens me a little is that Cowboy Cerrone got taken out in the first round. And because he got taken out in the first round, this is kind of a setback, man, a pretty big setback for his position in the division, right? Because, if he was looking for a title shot, having had the most wins in UFC history and having done everything he's done, if he was looking for a title shot, man, this was the fight to win in order to maybe make a case for it. At the very least, had he won this fight, he would have been second in line maybe after Tony Ferguson. But, man, just a sad setback for Cowboy Cerrone. And I believe this is the first official non-controversial loss for Cowboy Dad Cerrone, basically since he's become a father. And I think it stinks, I think it stinks. I love Cowboy. I would love to see him fight for a belt, but it seems like he always he gets near that summit, and he just can't climb over, man. He just can't make it, He's almost like a perpetual gatekeeper, and it's very disheartening because people love Cowboy. Did you guys see the amount of cheers he got from the crowd? I mean, you would have thought he was fighting in his hometown instead of Canada by the way the people were cheering him on. So, just absolutely amazing performance by Justin Gaethje, and a really sad setback for Cowboy Cerrone, who, obviously I think we'll see him back in the octagon again, but is he ever going to have what it takes to break that gatekeeper threshold and get himself a title shot? I don't know. Maybe he's going to have a daughter or another kid. Who knows? But, man, he was doing so well up until this loss and the Tony Ferguson one, obviously. The Tony Ferguson one, he looked great in that first round. But in this fight, he was doing okay. But to get taken out in the first round is not a good thing for his ranking in the division. It's not a good thing for him. So, in case you guys are tuning in now, Cowboy Cerrone got basically finished by Justin Gaethje, got KO'd at 4 minutes and 18 seconds into round number 1, breaking the hearts of Cowboy Cerrone fans everywhere. And, sad to see. Raul Castillo saying Cowboy was my favorite, but Justin do a good fight. Yeah, man. Absolutely, Cowboy's a fan favorite for a lot of people. But, he couldn't deal with that. He couldn't deal with those hooks. I'm actually surprised. I'm actually surprised he got beat in a striking match against Justin Gaethje, because I feel like Cowboy, that's where his strengths are. But, man, Gaethje just fought a good fight, and it goes to show you how improved he is, that a guy who comes from a wrestling background was able to knock out Cowboy Cerrone. Does Justin Gaethje have what it takes to fight for a belt? Interesting result, interesting questions that come from this fight, and something I'm very excited to see. So, knuckleheads, that's pretty much all I got. Everybody in the chat room today seems to be pretty drunk. You guys go ahead and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I'm not sure if this Tyson Fury fight happened yet. If not, I'm going to have to check that out. But thank you guys so much for joining. Don't forget to be sure to donate below. Get your Fighters Rep shirts below in the links in the description. Always feel free to donate to the Super Chat. The majority of the proceeds get reinvested right back into Fighters Rep Promotions. We are now a pro-licensed promotion, so we will be putting together professional fights as well here in Southern California. And with that, we sign off. You guys have a great one. Thank you so much for joining. Click the link below for your official Fighters Rep merchandise and join Knucklehead Nation.